Introduce Professor Charles Guest, who has kindly agreed to deliver the occasional address.
Presiding Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, this afternoon we're indeed fortunate to be addressed by the Chief Health Officer for the State of Victoria, Professor Charles Guest. Professor Guest is a graduate of the University of Melbourne, having been awarded a Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery in 1980. He also holds a Bachelor of Arts from Deakin University, a Master of Public Health from Harvard University, and coming a full circle, a PhD from the University of Melbourne. Professor Guest has contributed for more than a decade in a variety of specialist roles with the ACT government, better known as ACT Health, including serving as Chief Health Officer for the Australian Capital Territory. From 2008 to 2016, he was a professor in the College of Medicine, Biology and Environment at the Australian National University. Last year, he was appointed as Chief Health Officer for Victoria, a role involving providing strategic advice to government, communicating to the public, and has responsibility for a range of legislative functions, all in relation to public health and well-being. It's a great pleasure to call on him to speak to us this afternoon. Please welcome Professor Charles Guest.
Chancellor, Provost, Deans, colleagues, students, and supporters. I wish to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, the Wurundjeri people, who have been custodians of this area for thousands of years. To all students in this hall, congratulations on your graduation day. I hope you are as proud on graduating here today as I was. Let me declare my bias as I express my pride in this institution. It begins with family history. Early in the Second World War, my father had the opportunity to graduate here. My mother, studying here later, never completed her Melbourne degree. My parents learned a lesson. Life is not fair. Many of you have also learned that during your studies. In the unfair world, you have needed hope and resilience to reach today's graduation. Some of you arrived at this university from backgrounds of privilege. As graduates, all of you are now privileged. I hope you share my view. To prepare this speech, I looked for a thinker recognisable to most of you. Two great Melbourne University graduates came to mind. Dr. Sister Mary Glowry, a medical missionary and almost Australia's second saint, and Professor Peter Singer, probably the world's most influential living philosopher. Yet both are too obscure for today. Confucius also appeals to me, but many of you know more about him than I ever will. Bob Dylan, too old. Beyonce, not quite. Then Bono, that opinionated Irish pop singer. Would Bono advise me? Indeed, he was happy to discuss public speaking on LinkedIn. You should think of yourself as the body in the coffin at an old-fashioned Irish wake, he said. They need you in order to have the party, but no one expects you to say very much. So I will be brief, trying as the university has not to fill a bucket, but to light a fire. How much this university, this city, this country have changed since my parents were here. Most obvious here and now are your diverse backgrounds. How lucky we are to have students from all over the world among us. Many universities have changed profoundly in recent decades. Vice-Chancellor Glyn Davis's recent essay compares the modern university and its struggles to the dissolution of monasteries during the time of King Henry VIII. Henry was pursuing funds for his military campaigns, but there was great damage to scholarship and to art during this reformation of the English Church. Some 5 centuries later, by contrast, I hope that your time here has given you a sense of the value of universities and their capacity to nurture creative thinking. Just as scholarship was worth preserving centuries ago, universities are still worth defending in the face of political and economic challenges to their work. Despite all their achievements over the centuries, universities are, again, vulnerable. Just this week, for example, I note that Australian universities are supposed to absorb yet another budget cut, this time of 4.9%. However, your graduations today are cause for hope, one stage completed in your life of learning. My own version of lifelong learning arises today as I represent the city, by which I mean the rest of society, which should support and be supported by the university. In my case, the city means the Department of Health, just one of the end users of or industry partners for university research and teaching. The university and its partners in the city should have a profound connection. In the knowledge economy, we should all be learning. That is what the city, indeed the whole of society, needs. What does lifelong learning require? First, perhaps, is application. Then curiosity and a continuing search for truth. With authenticity, lifelong learners can bear witness to the variety of human experience. This demands courage and more. Learning requires hope, a cognitive activity of setting concrete goals, finding ways to achieve them with the willpower to get there. Moreover, hope confronts, explores, and sometimes accepts our limitations. To hope well is to do more than focus on hoped-for ends. It is to take a reflective and developmental stance towards our own capacities as agents in the growth of self-knowledge. Next, self-knowledge includes the capacity to turn for a moment from the work of thinking to a different mode of being, digesting and assimilating what the learner has produced or discovered, preparing perhaps to go further still while pausing in self-awareness. For me, the struggle to go on learning is best summarised by Hippocrates, that Greek physician, sometimes called the father of medicine. But at least in the aphorism I now quote, he shines as a learner's learner. Life is short, the art so long to learn, opportunity fleeting, experiment dangerous. Judgment, difficult. Life is short, yes. Live in the present. Avoid looking back, which is one source of depression, while too much looking forward can be a source of anxiety. The art so long to learn, yes. Learning any trade or profession may take a lifetime. The journey matters more than the destination. Opportunity fleeting, yes. Seize the day. It may be better to act now and apologise later than to wait for permission as the moment passes. Experiment dangerous, not only for the scientist, beware of causing harm through ignorance. Judgment difficult, not only for the lawyer, beware of delusions and faulty deduction. It is easy in theory to tell others how they should live their lives, but how challenging in practice to make the best of your own life. In both theory and practice, I hope you will recognise lifelong the value of learning. Please believe that learning is one form of hope. Thank you.